but more tackle both the challenges we're facing right now as a world, whether it's coming through this pandemic, whether it's dealing with climate change, whether it's dealing with the war in Ukraine, but also building for a stronger future. For many years, we've been talking and hearing about how it's important to make sacrifices, to change our behaviors, to protect our environment. We've also been hearing that there will be economic opportunities that come with taking steps towards being green. But it seems like there have been more challenges and more sacrifices than there have been opportunities and growth that comes from green investments, from clean investments. And what this trip is showing, what this friendship and partnership is showing, is that the time is now for us to start developing that future that includes not just protected environment and a successful fight against climate change, but good, sustainable jobs for families, for communities, a growing economy, and contributions to make the world a better place for everyone who lives in it. And that's what the energy solutions we're talking about here in Stephenville, Newfoundland are. But that's what the entire partnership between Canada and Germany about building a better future in which friends can rely on each other and support each other as we build a better future is all about. And I'm just so pleased to be able to be here with Olaf today and to launch all the conversations and work we're going to have in the coming years together. C'est un grand plaisir de pouvoir accueillir.
It's a great pleasure to welcome my friend Olaf Scholz here in Newfoundland and Labrador after 2 years in Montreal and Toronto, where we were able to talk about the issues that the world is facing, whether economic crisis or caused by the war in Ukraine, caused by Russia, economy, climate crisis, any challenge we meet. And we are concretely demonstrating that there are opportunities, there are solutions to not only protect the planet, but create good jobs, a strong future for everyone. I'm very, very happy for all the energy that we were able to build by talking about energy and the future together, and I look forward to continue with Olaf and partner friends throughout the world to make sure that Canada is a place that will provide clean energy and carbon neutral. Thank you, everyone. Olaf.
Das war jetzt eine sehr beeindruckende Tour kreuz und quer durch Kanada, ein sehr, sehr großes Land. Ein Land mit großen Perspektiven für die Zukunft und mit großen Möglichkeiten für Kanada, für die Bürgerinnen und Bürger dieses Landes, aber selbstverständlich für die ganze Welt und auch für die Zusammenarbeit mit unserem Land. Wir haben hier jedes Mal
have felt every time that the future is palpable, it's tangible. We can change the world and reach a carbon-neutral economy that remains an economy that creates good jobs, safeguards jobs, and that our countries can succeed to remain competitive, successful, industrialized nations on the world market. And getting started now, moving out of this story and making it real, using the technologies that have existed in a new scale is something that we have seen now. We are standing at a place that will be of even more importance for the development of the world economy, because this is about producing huge volumes of green hydrogen. We have seen in many fields that this plays a role in Canada. We've seen that there are also opportunities in terms of rare minerals and materials. This helps us to generate the economic development for digitalization, for combating climate change. Taken together, this is a huge success, but the most important thing during my visit is our friendship, the friendship between Germany and Canada. Two countries have found one another, they fit together well, they have similar ambitions and goals and ideas about how we can stop man-made climate change and also what it means to stand together, also vis-à-vis the huge challenge posed by Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. It is a wonderful friendship between our two countries and a wonderful friendship between the two of us. And I think we can build on this in the future. Thank you very much.
We have a rigorous and robust process in Canada where projects are assessed either at the provincial or the federal level. And as enthusiastic as we are about moving forward into a clean energy future, we want to make sure it's done right. Because, quite frankly, that's what we expect, that's what communities expect, that's what our partners expect. That's one of the advantages of working with Canada, to know that we are a reliable, positive source of products, supplies of energy. So, yes, we will have a rigorous process by which these projects are approved, but I am extremely optimistic about the future we are building together, and we're going to make sure we're getting it right.
Prime Minister, Andreas Rinke from Reuters. May I follow up? We have seen protests on the way to this place. Now we have a hydrogen partnership with Germany, which says that you start delivering in 2025. So I was wondering if you are really sure that you can actually fulfill this promise. Und Herr Bundeskanzler, eine Frage an Sie. Sie haben sich jetzt jeden Tag etwas optimistischer über den Bezug auch von LNG-Gas geäußert aus Kanada. Haben Sie konkrete Zusagen des Ministerpräsidenten bekommen, dass Kanada tatsächlich LNG-Gas auch in Deutschland und Europa liefert?
First of all, it's not just about one government deciding that we need to move towards a cleaner, greener future. It's citizens around the world and people across Canada who understand how important it is to fight climate change and build good jobs and prosperity. The world is going to need energy in the coming decades. It also is going to need to make sure that that energy is net zero, that we have processes that aren't putting at risk future generations or our current planet. And that means that the will of Canadians be that solution that the world needs in a net zero future is irrespective of politics, is focused on how we're going to build the kinds of future, the kinds of careers, the kind of jobs, the kinds of solutions that the world needs. Because these are all projects that are happening by private sector investments, with private sector partners. Governments have a role in continuing to encourage them and make sure they're done properly and get the regulations right. But there is a market case for this. This is where the world is going, and that's going to happen. And I'm just excited that we're able to do it amongst friends like this.
Alle haben verstanden, dass Deutschland zu den Ländern gehört, die
understood that Germany is among the countries that have the most ambitious goals when it comes to stopping man-made climate change and developing a carbon-neutral economy. Everybody has understood that we see this as a technology project and that we want to have good, safe jobs for the future. And since this is the case, I think people understand that in the time frame until we've reached that point, we will have to import gas, and we will stand united when it comes to supporting Ukraine in its defense against the Russian aggression. And I think everybody understands this.
Prime Minister, Herr Bundeskanzler, one question to both of you, if I may. You spent 3 days together now. A more personal question: what did you learn about the other person now in terms of politics or maybe personality, whatever you want to answer? Und eine Frage, wenn Sie erlauben, Herr Bundeskanzler, es gibt ja währenddessen eine große
Chancellor, there is a big debate going on about masks on the government plane and the issue as a whole. The Cabinet will discuss the rules for the fall season. Do you think it is okay that different regulations exist for government flights and commercial flights, or should it be harmonized, and in which way? Thank you. Our cooperation has a long tradition. We've known each other for quite a long time, and I've said that in the beginning. Justin mentioned this as well. We started discussing intensively in the town hall of Hamburg at the St. Matthew's meal, where we discussed major questions of our cooperation already and the questions of the CETA trade agreement. So it is something very special that after the many meetings we had at different occasions before I became Chancellor, and the many meetings we had since that, we were now able to get the ratification for CETA on board in the Bundestag. I think this is very fitting. We have always communicated very well, also on a personal level. We have had great exchanges. We have the same understanding of progressive politics, aiming at workers, people who work every day, deserving respect, that they have to be able to rely on the fact that society stands together. And this is of utmost importance these days. So our political goals fit very well, and on a personal level, we're also doing very well. Concerning your question about masks, we have clear rules concerning the German government aviation, and I'm glad that we were able to prepare legislation for the fall, legislation that we need in order for everybody to take the right decisions that will be needed, and that we have a legal framework for that.
As Olaf said, we've known each other for more than 5 years, and one of the things that connected us right away is an understanding that the only way to build a strong future for our societies, for our country, is to make sure that everyone gets to be part of it. That's what progressive policies are about. That's what fighting climate change together and growing the economy is all about. So we've always connected deeply on those issues. Olaf's leadership at the G7 this year has brought that to new levels with a level of responsibility given the return of war to Europe, given our responsibilities towards the global south, and we've always connected on that. On a personal level, we spent a lot of time together, but over the past 2 days, I've gotten to know better Olaf's wonderful sense of humor. He's great when you make him laugh, and we've really, I think, deepened the friendship that we have together, but also the friendship for our people and our countries. It's a difficult time in politics everywhere around the world. But the ability to do this important work alongside friends and allies that understand how important the choices we're making and come at it with a thoughtful, responsible, but deeply human approach like Olaf does is just a privilege to work alongside him.
Chancellor, there are those who say...
Non, désolé, c'est mon tour, merci. Monsieur le Premier ministre,
j'aimerais revenir
sur l'entente qui a été annoncée tout à l'heure. Tout ça me semble
Prime Minister, I'd like to come back to the question that was asked earlier. There is still a lot of infrastructure and projects, and the project hasn't been adopted on yet. And what about demand for Canadian hydrogen in the coming years? My question is, are you going to meet the objectives that you set today, and will you accelerate the project here in Newfoundland? In English later, too. First,
qu'on a les technologies pour créer de l'hydrogène de plusieurs différentes façons. Les technologies existent, ils sont utilisés à petite échelle dans bien des processus à travers le monde, y compris au Canada depuis longtemps avec Ballard Fuel Cells. Mais le contexte et le code marché n'a jamais été là jusqu'à présent pour le faire à
Market
grande
situation
échelle.
has never been such that we've been able to bring this up to scale. Now, the unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine by Russia has profoundly changed the game and has accelerated a process that might otherwise have taken more years or even another decade before we would have pivoted to hydrogen. So everything that you have seen here, all the projects that have been shown, have been developed since, or really moved forward rapidly since Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. Because there's a new opportunity we have now for us. There's a new demand, a new need. Yes, in the short term, yes, we need more gas, more petrol products, more fuel products to replace what Russia is choking off, the supply it's choking off. But in the medium term, so 5 years down the road, we also need to accelerate our transition to green energy, become less dependent on fossil fuels, creating reliable new energy sources. And the demand for these energies will be such in the years to come. This demand for carbon-neutral development Well, Canada and the maritime provinces are extremely well positioned to meet this demand. So if you want guarantees, you needn't listen to my view. You just need to look towards the German companies that are signing agreements, that are putting money up because they know that this is a thing of the future. Private companies, this shows that there is a real interest. In fact, that this pivot is inevitable. Canada will become a source of clean energy in a zero-carbon future.
The technologies that we're seeing, that we've seen today to create hydrogen, have been around for years, for decades, for almost a century in some cases. But the market case and the need to scale up was coming, but wasn't quite here yet. Russia's illegal and unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine has meant that everything gets accelerated, that the pivot to reduce our carbon emissions, to replace oil and gas from Russia for Europe, but to accelerate the transition towards cleaner energy is happening now. And the innovative companies we're seeing here are just the tip of the iceberg. But if we want to know how real it is, look at how it's not just governments talking about it, it's businesses signing deals that involve real money because they know that this is going to be needed in the coming years and in the coming decades. And Canada is very excited to be part of this net zero transition world and be that energy supplier. In terms of regulatory processes, we need to get this right, not just for the next year or two, but for the next decades and for the next generations. And that means the processes have to be done rigorously and properly. Yes, with as much encouragement as we can to get them done quickly, but it has to be done rigorously if we're going to set up the success that we're going to need for many decades to come. So we will always take seriously our regulatory responsibilities shared between provinces and the federal government. Les processus réglementaires, bien sûr, vont être...
So regulatory processes, of course, shall be respected because we don't want nothing but short-term results. We want to be able to create a sector that will last for generations, for decades. And to ensure that's the case, we will go through this in a responsible fashion.
Prime Minister Trudeau, my questions are both for you. Mercedes Stevenson from Global News. It's been a while since we've seen you, so I have two somewhat unrelated questions that I'm going to roll into one because they're both very important issues. The first is about somebody who was hired by the Department of Heritage to run an anti-racism project. This person had a very well-known history of anti-Semitic statements in the past. How was this person hired, and how will your government make sure something like that never happens again? My second question for you is about a Canadian veteran who was told that he could undertake medically assisted dying when he called Veterans Affairs for treatment about his traumatic brain injury. I know there's an investigation into that, but there's a lot of concern in the veteran community that the government doesn't care about them and you've not done enough. What do you have to say to that veteran and his family and other Canadian veterans?
Well, the link, Mercedes, between your two questions are they're both absolutely unacceptable actions. The individual who was hired by an organization funded by the Government of Canada put out statements that were absolutely unacceptable and reprehensible, and therefore the organization that hired him has seen its funding suspended, and we will continue to follow up because that is not something that we can accept as a government. Secondly, in the case of the veteran, it's absolutely unacceptable that this veteran would have been suggested or offered medical assistance in dying. That is not the duty of care that we have towards veterans. There is a full investigation.